What's poppin' pepperonis? It's your boy Dr. Radical. I like to enjoy life one slice at a time, and I hope you do too. I apologize in advance for the last 9, maybe 10 days I've been fighting what seems to be the plague, but is probably just a fever or the flu. So we're gonna keep it a little mellow. And in today's video, they have asked us for the Respawn Recruits Challenge to do an instructional or a tutorial for anything. So what better way to teach you something than to show you how I spice up my streams? And we're gonna use image masking and blending and a little bit of spice. So get ready to learn and get comfy and get ready and get rad because it's showtime. So for this tutorial, we're going to be under the assumption that you have some understanding of a photo editor like Photoshop, which is what I'll be using. I know there are some editors that are out there like Canva and other programs where you can do like basic editing. So use whatever you like, but it should be under the pretenses that you have some understanding of that kind of software before you watch this tutorial. If you don't, there's thousands of videos, if not more, on the internet to give you a better understanding of what we're about to do in this video. But I want to show you how to make some webcam overlays and maybe even some extra designs that you can implement on your streams. So the first thing that we're going to look for within OBS Studio is we're going to look for our scenes, and we are going to create a brand new scene, and we're going to call this one our webcam. Our webcam overlay. In this source window right here, we're going to hit the plus sign and make sure that we have our video capture. If you're adding a brand new one for the very first time, you would just hit create new, make it named whatever you want. But for this one, since I already have my webcam plugged in, I'm going to select my existing camera. Now that I'm up on the screen, I can kind of resize everything wherever I want, and I could just add a display capture and just leave my camera there, and that would be it. But for the sake of this tutorial, we are going to resize our webcam to the entire canvas. You can also do that by going to your sources and right-clicking on it, clicking on transform, and selecting fit to screen. Once we have that set up again, what we're going to do is we're actually going to right click on the entire scene and go to filters. Over here is the new window that's going to pop up for effect filters. We're going to hit that plus sign and we're going to look for image mask / blend. You can name it whatever you'd like. I just leave it as image mask / blend. Once you have that selected, you're going to look for the type drop down and change it to alpha mask alpha channel. Now let's switch over to Photoshop and make our webcam overlay. Once we are in Photoshop, we're going to go to File and New, and we are going to create a new canvas based on the display resolution that you are using in OBS. So for example, if your monitor is 1920 by 1080 and that's what you're streaming to without any kind of downscaling or anything like that, you're going to select 1920 by 1080. But since my monitor is a 2560 by 1440, that's what I will select. Resolution can be left at the default. Mine is 300, yours may be different, but you can select OK. Now what we're going to do is actually create our webcam mask. So we're going to go to the left-hand side and select the rectangle tool, or by pressing U on the keyboard. Once we have this selected, we can kind of draw it how we'd like. So let's just say, for example, we're going to use a basic rectangle. We want this to be centered in the middle of our canvas because this is where our face is going to be centered in the camera. So we're going to leave this as it is. Now that we have this, we can hit File, we save as, and then save it as whatever you'd like, as long as the format is PNG. Once this is saved, we can go back to OBS, and this time we're actually going to be looking for the scenes. And we're going to right click on the scene itself, click on filters, and this is the new box that pops up. So we're going to look for effect filters, hit the plus sign, and we're going to do image mask / blend, hit OK. For the type, we are going to select alpha mask, alpha channel, and for the path, we're going to click browse. Then we're going to find our image that we just created. You can double click it, and it's going to then fit everything based around that shape that we just created, which means that we no longer have to transform our webcam, and it fits right in the middle of the screen. Now that we have this part done, we're gonna make a new scene strictly for game capture. Once you are in the new scene, you're going to click on Add Source, and we are going to go to Scene. We are adding the scene as a source for this new scene. This is what's known as nesting. So we're gonna scroll down and look for our webcam overlay. And there's our webcam overlay. We are pretty much ready to go. Now that we have our webcam into the new scene, this is where we can resize as necessary and just leave it up in the top left corner. And if you wanted something kind of basic, this is where you would stop. But if you want to add a little bit more to it, we can actually go back into Photoshop and simply start with what we left off on. So we're just going to take this image here. So what we're going to do is right click on the layer and click blending options. And for this one, we will use a basic stroke. Leave the size as necessary, change the color to whatever you'd like. And then hit OK. So we're going to right click on that layer and we're going to rasterize that layer style. Next, we are going to select our magic eraser and erase what is in that green box. So we are left with this blue kind of border. So once we have this blue border, this is where we can go in and once again click blending options, and we can add a gradient overlay to add to that and then hit OK. Now for this one, we're going to hit File and Save As, and we are going to save this as our border. Once we have this done, we're actually going to go back into OBS and we're going to go to our webcam overlay layer. So now we have this here, and now we have the layer that we created, which will typically hold your camera. But what we're going to do is we are going to go to sources, and we are going to add a new source, and we're going to go to image this time, border, hit OK. And for the path, we select our border. Now this border loads exactly as it is, and we can see here that the border has already been created around our camera. Once we go back to our game capture scene, we can see that the border is actually around my camera. Now there's lots of things that you can do with this, and there's one final little extra piece that I'd like to add to show you just in case this is something you're interested in. Now for this part of the tutorial, what we're going to do is search up some looping GIFs of like rainfall or bubbles. So for this example, we're just going to search for rainfall GIF. We want to make sure that we choose something that has some kind of transparency to it. We're going to save that. And once we have that saved, we go back to our border and we right click on it. We go to filters. We right click and go to filters. We get this new window that pops up for the effect filters, and we hit the plus sign for image mask blend. We're going to select alpha mask alpha channel once again, and we are going to find what we just downloaded. Now we can see that our webcam not only has that border, but it is now animated, and we can go back into our game capture and see that it does in fact still have that animation. Use this however you'd like and spice up your streams to the absolute maximum effort. The rabbit hole for image masking and blending goes a lot deeper, and however deep your Photoshop skills go, you may be able to go further than what I've shown you here in this video. But if you know somebody that might want to spice up their streams, send this video their way. And thank you for choosing me as your friendly neighborhood doctor. Thank you for watching this video. And until next time, stay tuned and stay rad.